We have made it, folks. We have made it to week 13 of the NFL season, and that means one thing. We have Wretch Philadelphia Eagles week, a rematch of last year's NFC Championship game, essentially a mid-season rematch and potential eventual meeting again in this year's playoffs. This really is a Super Bowl matchup of titans, of two colossal organizations that are at the peak of their play, meeting head-to-head this Sunday in Philadelphia. Dare I say, these are the two best teams in the entire league going head-to-head at the link in Philadelphia. Welcome into the 49er Access podcast. My name is Sterling Bennett. And oh boy, are we hyped for this week. Ever since that dreaded day in January earlier this year, we've been waiting, chomping at the bit to get back to Philadelphia. Now, thankfully, we don't have to wait for the playoffs. Thankfully, it happens this Sunday at 1:25 p.m. in the town that Rocky Balboa built, Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, not Pittsburgh. But this Sunday, the 8-3 San Francisco 49ers, the number 2 seed in the NFC, riding a 3-game win streak, coming off 10 days of rest after beating, and shall I say clinching, the NFC West on Thanksgiving Day, travel their little heinies up there to Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, and take on the 10-1 Philadelphia Eagles for the number 1 seed in the NFC West, riding a 5-game winning streak, coming off a 5-quarter overtime victory over the Buffalo Bills. And again, enough cannot be said. This is what we have been waiting for all year long. I hate the Eagles. You hate the Eagles. We hate them. There is history here that seems that we have kind of jammed in a lifetime of rivalry trash talk into a 10-month span. You got Deebo Samuel calling James Bradbury trash. You have Haason Reddick talking about last year. You have our players now trying to move on. You have their fans talking trash to us, threatening Fred Warner's wife and girlfriend. You have Bonte and Shasky at 95.7 The Game going at it with Philadelphia radio hosts. You have people in Philadelphia and their media calling Nick Sirianni better than Kyle Shanahan in every which way. And you have the Philadelphia fans, arguably the most just despicable people in the book. I'll give them credit first. They're passionate. They care about their sports. And I cannot say enough about them rallying behind their team. We saw it in the MLB playoffs. Trey Turner going through a bad year. They cheered him, they clapped him, and they got behind him as a fan base, and he had an amazing end to his first season in Philadelphia. We've also seen the Philadelphia Eagle fans throw ice, throw slurs, and say so many things and threaten other fan bases. And every time a fan base comes into that stadium, the link, it feels like something awful happens. There's always reports coming out of this, that, and the other. But nobody has been able to beat Philadelphia at home this year. Their only loss in New York on the road to the Jets, a really piss-poor Jets defense that was banged up. Eagles played awful in that game. San Francisco now has a chance to go into the link and avenge what happened last season, when Brock Purdy gets the arm jammed up by Haason Reddick and hit and tears his UCL, a whole offseason of recovery, a whole offseason that led to San Francisco losing that game against Philadelphia, Josh Johnson getting hurt, Trent Williams grabbing a defender and slamming him to the ground. It really did feel as if this game, the NFL, for whatever reason, didn't put it in prime time, but this game has been circled by every fan of every team this year. Every fan base has been waiting for this rematch. Philadelphia wants this rematch. San Francisco wants this rematch. And it is finally upon us. I hate Philadelphia. You hate Philadelphia. So let's dive into this game 5 minutes into the podcast, talking about how much this game means. Because I'll tell you right now, I don't care what other fan bases say. I don't care what the Eagles players or coaching staff are going to say, or what the San Francisco 49er coaching staff is going to say and their players are going to say. They can preach and talk that, though this game means nothing, that's last year's team. No, this game for both sides means everything. For the Philadelphia Eagles, you want to defend your home field. You want to reapprove that last year wasn't a fluke. They beat you with Brock Purdy, right? And Philadelphia, if they do indeed lose this game against San Francisco, finds themselves just one game ahead of San Francisco in the NFC for the number 1 seed, with San Francisco then holding the tiebreaker over them if they have a tie record to end the year. But also, if the Dallas Cowboys win tonight against the Seattle Seahawks, they're just one game ahead of Dallas in the NFC East. This game means something for the Philadelphia Eagles. There's a reason why Lane Johnson, who missed the last couple of weeks, he's pushing to play. There's a reason why Dallas Goedert, who's been on IR for the past month, is pushing to play. They want to take part in this game. They know it means something for these franchises, these organizations. On the Niners side, you can't talk all this crap. You can't go through an entire offseason saying, oh, James Bradbury's trash, or if we had Purdy, it wasn't going to be close. Their weakness in Philadelphia is the secondary, like Deebo Samuel has said a handful of times. San Francisco feels like they got screwed last year and took the entire offseason to let the NFL world know, had Brock Purdy been healthy, they would have won that game. Now is the opportunity to go out there and prove that. Heck, they even went and signed the Philadelphia Eagles' biggest free agent this offseason. There's so much tension built up towards these two teams. Both fan bases hate each other. They are ready. The media's talking trash. They are ready for these two teams to step on the field and have an all-out slugfest, a fight. These two teams want to brutalize each other on the field. They want to make the other team know they just played the San Francisco 49ers and the Philadelphia Eagles. This is going to be a, not 11 round, 9 round. This is Tyson versus Holyfield. This is, you want to put WWE, you want to put Undertaker against Shawn Michaels. This is what we call an all-out, shout out to JR, slobber knocker slugfest going to happen in Philadelphia. But I want to start with last week. How much does the previous week matter? Because you can think what you want, two good teams. San Francisco is coming off of 3 extra days of rest, while Philadelphia did indeed beat the Buffalo Bills in a overtime thriller that the Bills should have won, mind you, but I digress, where their defense played 92 plays. Like, their defense is exhausted, and San Francisco coming off I don't want to say easy win, but a win which they did dominate, won by 18 points over Seattle. Knowing this team and even Philadelphia in their case are also banged up, you give Eric Armstead 10 days to rest. You give Jordan Mason 10 days to rest. You give Ray McLeod 10 days to rest. That's only going to be in your favor. Now, the Eric Armstead foot injury is kind of crept out of nowhere yesterday when he was announced not to practice. They're not sure if that's a plantar fasciitis issue like he had last year, which cost him the majority of the season, or it's something minor. But if he can't play, it's a major loss. Or if he's limited and has to push to play, having those 10 days, those 3 extra days off to get ready and rest are a massive help for that Niners team. For the Philadelphia Eagles, Zach Cunningham, starting linebacker, he didn't practice yesterday. Fletcher Cox, old veteran player, been there forever, a strong, stout defensive lineman. He has a groin injury. He didn't practice yesterday. And I already mentioned Dallas Goedert and Lane Johnson, both those guys battling through injuries. Goddard hasn't played in over a month. Lane Johnson hasn't played, didn't play against the Buffalo Bills last week. They need the extra days, and they don't have them. The rest, the 10 days off, definitely favors the San Francisco 49ers. They should be prepared. It's not just 10 days of rest, though. It's 10 days of film to watch. You get to you play on Thanksgiving, you get the weekend off. You get 5 complete days to get back into the film room, see what you did wrong, see what you did right, and see how you can hopefully stop and execute your offense over the Philadelphia Eagles defense and vice versa. So the rest certainly favors San Francisco in this one, but I have a major question to ask about the Philadelphia Eagles. Who are the Philadelphia Eagles? I asked this when San Francisco had lost those 3 games in a row going into the bye week. I said they need a wake-up call. Who are they? Are they going to be a team where they're offensively led and they have to hope and pray they can score over 20 points a game to win? That has seemingly changed since the bye week, but now let's shift that conversation to the Philadelphia Eagles because, yes, the number 1 seed in the NFC, the best record in the entire NFL, 10-1 on the year. They've beaten teams like the Chiefs, the Bills, the Cowboys, the Dolphins. They have a stout, or they are stout up front with all pros. Jalen Hurts, MVP candidate, A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith, the best offensive line in the entire league. They have veteran defenders everywhere. Darius Slade, James Trash Bradbury, Zach Cunningham, Fletcher Cox, Jalen Carter, Jordan Davis, Haason Reddick. This team is what you call a team built to last. They've come back from a handful of victories or near losses to pull out the victories. We saw one last week against the Buffalo Bills. This team loves to fight. They have embraced the Philadelphia city, and they have embraced their fan base. They've embraced the theme, the motto of the town in which they are living in and playing in. They are a grinded out, blue collar, freezing cold temperature, broken and bruised, and somehow going to get the victory by any means necessary kind of team. But over the past 4 games, granted, all victories by the Eagles, mind you, they won by 7 points, then 5 points, then 4 points, then over the Bills last week, just 3 points. Dare I ask, are they due for a loss? That's up to what happens on Sunday, but I'll just say this. Maybe there's a reason as to why San Francisco is favored by 3 on the road in what is considered to be one of the toughest places to play in the entire NFL. I could argue that last week there were people saying the Eagles are due for a loss. They're due for a loss. They won. They squeaked it out, took it to the brink of losing that game. The Niners are not the Bills. They're not the Chiefs. They aren't the Cowboys. They are much better than all of those teams. This is the Niners' best and biggest matchup against the Eagles. This is Philadelphia having not played a team built like the Niners all year long. These are 2 teams are elite, ready to go head-to-head, and dare I say there's a reason as to why the Niners are favored in this game. So let's see how the Niners defense can find a way to stop a high-powered, and I mean high freaking powered Philadelphia Eagles offense. And let's start at the top. No, not with Nick Sirianni, who has the most punchable face in the entire league. I cannot wait, and I hope, and I have prayed all year long, we can make this man feel an ounce of shame. Give him credit. Him, just like the team, has bought into the Philadelphia way. We're going to get in your face. We're going to talk trash. We're going to look in the camera and point at you. And we're going to go out there and we're going to talk trash to other teams' fan bases. But also, we'll do it in the tunnel where we can't be seen or yelled back at, right? I think Nick Sirianni is a front runner. He's a good head coach, but he is not the best coach in the NFL. That 10-1 record is not because of him. He's not even calling plays for the team on offense or defense. In fact, last year, the team's offense got better when he relinquished play calling and gave it to Shane Steichen, who is now the Colts head coach. Nick Sirianni, I get it. He's a good head coach. He is a front runner. I want to make that man's pride fall. I want to make him feel shame. But let's go to the quarterback. Because by all intents and purposes, Jalen Hurts deserves to be in the MVP conversation. Again, best team in the league record-wise, number one seed in the conference, and he is a quarterback of that team. The MVP race is going to be widely considered, or you are going to be in that conversation if you have those things next to your name on those check boxes. But Jalen Hurts, dare I say, is a statistically fringe top 10 quarterback this year. He's 10th in completion percentage, 11th in passing yards, 10th in passing touchdowns, 6th in QBR, 12th in rating, and tied for 4th in total turnovers. Now, that isn't to say take him lightly. It isn't to say that you can just let him do his thing. He's going to hurt you. Jalen Hurts is one of the best quarterbacks in the entire league. You poll 32 coaches, they're going to say, yes, I'd rather have Jalen Hurts than their guy, right? I'd rather have Hurts than Bryce Young, than Tua, rather have Hurts than Kirk Cousins and Jared Goff. Some of the better quarterbacks in football, you'd rather have Jalen Hurts over. And he is so great at the Philadelphia RPO, right? He is a game-changing runner. He's a great passer, mind you, but he's a game-changing runner to a point where the Eagles' running game is kind of based around him, where we've seen this before. The Ravens and Lamar Jackson. Now you have, and dare I say, maybe the Falcons with Michael Vick back in the early 2000s. But it's really impressive as to what he's been able to do and have an entire team, again, the best team in the entire league record-wise, have their running game structured around him. There's a reason why he's ran for the second most first downs in the entire league. Now, are those tush pushes? Maybe. But what he's able to do with his legs on the ground, with the RPOs, it just adds so much more to Philadelphia's offense outside of just be in the pocket, be somewhat mobile like Joe Burrow or the Trevor Lawrences or others or Justin Herbert's, right? Guys who can extend plays, but likely aren't going to be the reason why a team runs for 100 plus yards. Like Hurts is in that Josh Allen category, albeit playing a much different style of football, right? Hurts is also great at using his legs, of getting outside of the pocket, resetting his feet, finding a receiver either in a small window or going deep downfield. He does like to run to the sideline a little too much for my liking, but again, he can make up for that by running to his left, finding himself time, resetting himself with patience, unafraid to take hits, and finding a receiver downfield. We saw against the Bills last week, needing a touchdown late in that game, runs to his left towards the sideline, two defenders in his face, and finds Zacchaeus in the back of the end zone for a touchdown to give Philadelphia the lead. Like, he can do that thing against anybody, any defense in the entire league. And it's another reason why San Francisco has to set the edge. Nick Bosa, Chase Young, Clelin Ferrell, whoever else is out there, Randy Gregory, maybe if it's Robert Beal Jr., doesn't matter who it is, you have to contain the edge, set the edge, force Hurts, force Swift, Gainwell up into the interior offense and defensive line, and let guys like Hargrave, and maybe if it's Kinlaw starting, or Eric Armstead, those guys are going to be one of the most pivotal pieces in winning this game. Yes, it's trench warfare. Yes, we know this coming in. It cannot be understated how much the trenches matter in a game against Philadelphia. That is the only way you can beat them. That's how important it is against a team like Philadelphia. And to continue with Jalen Hurts here, he's the best second half quarterback in the entire league. He has 10 touchdowns to 0 interceptions in second halves this year. That leads the entire league. He is not going to give you the game in the second half. In fact, he's going to win his team the game in the second half. He has 9.3 yards an attempt. That ranks second in football, and has 136.6 passer rating, which is first in football in second halves. Just like the Chiefs, just like the Bills before them, like I said earlier, San Francisco is going to have to thwart, stop. They are going to have to limit and push back and fight through that guaranteed second half push by Philadelphia, led by Jalen Hurts. When I say the Eagles are going to push and fight and claw their way to wins, that's what I mean. They'll give you a game in the first half. They'll be down 21-10, 21-3, and they'll somehow find a way to win 31-28. This team just knows how to get it done. But with that being said, I do think there are many holes on this Philadelphia offense, starting with Jalen Hurts. Jalen Hurts having a good year, mind you, having one of the best years in the entire league, mind you. He hasn't been the same player he was last year. And I don't think the Eagles are actually playing up to par with a 10-1 record. They by all means should be 8-3. And that's not bad. Like San Francisco's 8-3. I'm not knocking them and saying they've won some grinded out kind of games. Even San Francisco themselves, Fred Warner said, the Niners have to win games like that. That's what separates you in the standings. Philadelphia has done that where San Francisco hasn't. But Jalen Hurts is tied for fourth in the entire league in total turnovers, giving up either one pick or one fumble per game. He is tied with Desmond Ridder, who's been benched, then starting, and then benched, then starting again for the Falcons, and Mac Jones, who seemingly plays one half a game in total turnovers this year. That tells you Jalen Hurts is not playing a safe brand of football. There is going to be opportunities for San Francisco in this game, who, mind you, has the second most takeaways in the entire league and has totaled more interceptions at 15 than touchdowns given up this year through the air at 11. San Francisco, I get it's not going to have Talanoa Hufanga, a massive loss in a game like this. A smart player that is going to take shots, a massive takeaway machine, dare I say. It's going to be Jair Brown, going to be Tayshaun Gibson, and a young cornerback group playing the best they have all year long. They are going to have chances to get takeaways in this game. Hurts is going to give you a chance to turn the tide. Where San Francisco has struggled in recent weeks is when Seattle gives you an interception, you have to score. You cannot go in or have the ball on Philadelphia's 43-yard line and get nothing or just 3 points. You have to come away with touchdowns against this team. If you leave Philadelphia in a game like this, that's when they find a way to claw themselves back and get victories. There are holes in San Francisco's game too. I'm not going to ignore that. Like I said, you cannot be on Philadelphia's 43-yard line like you were against Seattle and not score. You cannot waste drives against this team. That's what happens with the Bills and the Chiefs and many others before them. They get into Philadelphia's territory. The Cowboys game is a prime example of this. You have to get in the end zone. You cannot settle for field goals. If you do, you are going to lose this game. I'm going back to Jalen Hurts. Philadelphia has not been as explosive as they once were last year. They're tied for 9th in completions of 20-plus yards. That's still top 10. You give them that credit. They finished second in the league last year. So a 7-ranking drop by their offense, not being as explosive. They also ranked 12th in explosive plays as a whole, whereas last year they ranked first. This offense has fallen down 11 spots when it comes to being explosive. I also think Hurts, he's holding on to the ball so extremely long. It's almost mind-boggling. Now, part of this is him extending plays, running around, making moves, and again, forcing defenses into stopping him using his legs, right? Like I said, rolling to his left and finding Zacchaeus in the back of the end zone last week. That's going to affect your time to throw. But Hurts does hold on to the ball the fifth longest time in the league. That's led to a 30.7 pressure rate on dropbacks. That ranks 11th in the league. He's also been sacked nearly 7% of his dropbacks. That ranks 11th in the league as well. And in the past 3 games, he's been sacked 10 times. Like, Hurts has been sacked almost 3 times a game, 5 of those coming against the Chiefs. He's the 6th most sacked quarterback in the league. And when you come into this game knowing that the Niners have the 3rd highest sack rate and the 5th highest pressure rate in the last 3 weeks, it lends you to believe they're going to have a strong chance to sack and pressure and force Jalen Hurts to make those off-schedule plays or hold them to a 3rd and 6 or a 2 and 8 and eliminate the chance for a tush push. Now, we know this, and I'll get to it more in depth later. The Eagles play 4-down football almost the entire time, but you can get sacks. You can get pressure. It's going to force the Eagles offense that has not been as explosive, albeit great on 3rd down this year. They're going to have to make plays. That's where your bread and butter is. Get to the quarterback. Get sacks. Force them to beat you on 3rd and 8. Force them to get you to 3rd and 2 when it's 2 and 8. If San Francisco, who have seen success doing it against the Jaguars and the Bucs in Seattle last week, they are going to have success in this game against Jalen Hurts and the Eagles. But it's not just Jalen Hurts there. DeAndre Swift coming into this game, picked him up from the Lions last year. Didn't think much of the move coming into the year. He has been one of the more pleasant surprises of the season. Came out super strong and picked things up more recently after kind of a lull period there in the middle of the season. But watching him this year, I'll tell you this. DeAndre Swift, while being the 4th leading rusher in the entire league, right? What he's able to do before contact, he is one of the most patient runners in the league. He's not Le'Veon Bell where he'll kind of sit there and dance for a hot second and you're like, what's going on here? And then he bursts open. But he will wait and wait and wait because he is hoping he can find a lane towards the outside. He trusts this offensive line in Philadelphia to find lanes, to create lanes for him. He'll just sit behind the guard for 2 seconds, then bang, he's gone for 5-6 yards of carry. That's how good he is. He averages about 5 yards per carry this year, but before contact, he's getting 3.31 yards per carry. That ranks 2nd in the entire league. Again, he's going to kind of sit behind that big stone wall of the offensive line, behind Kelce, behind Jurgens and Dickerson, and he'll just sit there and wait behind the guards and center. Then boom, he's gone for a massive 6, 7, 12-yard run. He's so patient. San Francisco cannot over pursue. Dre Greenlaw, Jair Brown, Fred Warner, these guys know this. They are going to have to be patient with him. And look, go back there, make a tackle, do your thing, but you have to plug the holes, fill the holes. He will hurt you. He will hurt you before contact. You have to get to him early because if you don't, he's getting 5-6 yards of carry, which then allows the Eagles to be in 2nd and 5s, and it becomes a 3rd and 1. Then all of a sudden it's tush push, and it's a 1st down. That's where Philadelphia beats you on the ground. Yes, Hurts is having a great year. Not as good as he was last year. He's not. They will pound the football, pound the rock, and let Swift beat you if they have to. How many times do you see them run 3 running plays in a row? An RPO to Swift, an RPO to Hurts, then it's 3rd and 2. Swift gets you 5 yards on the ground for a 1st down. It happens every single game. That's how good they are on the ground. And DeAndre Swift, along with Kenneth Gainwell, are arguably 2 of the best pass-catching backs in the entire league. And they also are very quick on the ground with the ball after a catch. They'll beat you with their speed. These guys are quick. Gainwell being one of the best screen pass catchers in the entire league. He loves space. Have no idea how he fell in the draft, knowing how good he's looked in Philadelphia, but Gainwell is going to be a massive problem in this game as Swift will be. It does help the fact that San Francisco is coming into this game the number 1 ranked run defense in football. They are first in yards given up. They are tied for 9th in yards per carry and tied for 2nd in touchdowns allowed. This is, like I said, going to be trench warfare. Whichever team can establish the run, I think it'll be San Francisco, mind you. Whatever team can establish the run, they're going to control this game. Again, my money's on San Francisco, but Philadelphia is no slouch in the run game department, and they can beat you in a much more versatile way than San Francisco can because they have Jalen Hurts in the backfield as well. But I want to throw this tidbit out there because I've seen Philadelphia Eagles accounts on X or Twitter being like, the Niners have only played the Bengals and the Vikings and the Buccaneers, and they're the first-ranked run defense. They played nobody. I'll just tell you this. San Francisco this year has played 3 top 5 leading rushers at the time they faced off. Tony Pollard, James Conner, and Travis Etienne. All 3 of those players were held under 60 yards in that game. Etienne, a non-factor. James Conner, a non-factor. Tony Pollard, a non-factor. If that happens again, this game is going to heavily lean San Francisco. What they've been able to do when they face the top echelon guys at the time of playing them cannot be understated. San Francisco has essentially taken away those offenses, the Cardinals, the Cowboys, and the Jaguars at the time, taking away their leading rusher. I don't want to hear Eagles fans saying they have played nobody. In fact, every time they've faced their biggest challenge, they have risen and toppled that challenge over like it was nothing. The challenges don't stop there, though, for San Francisco. You have your A.J. Brown, who is just, what can you not say about this man? He is one of the best receivers in the entire league. Easily top 3 in my book. It's Jefferson, it's Tyreek Hill, and it's A.J. Brown, bar none. He is that good. He is and has some of the best contested catch hands in the entire league. One thing I think people don't understand with him is that, yes, he's one of the best go ball receivers. He'll beat you deep downfield. He's someone that you see him make these highlight reel plays. Really, where he beats you is on slant routes. And what I mean by that is he's a bigger body guy, and we have smaller cornerbacks. Thomas, Lenore, Mooney Ward, although bigger and taller, slender guy. He's going to box out any cornerback lined up against him. Doesn't matter who it is. He is going to out-physical them, box them out on slants. He's going to beat you for 6 to 8 yards downfield. He's the reason why the offense in the passing game is so great, because what he does in the 6 to 12 yard range is just otherworldly. Again, he will beat your cornerback no matter who it is, whether it's zone, especially if it's man, on these easy slant routes. We see, like, he doesn't even need separation. He'll just out-body you. He will out-physical you. He will literally Draymond Green box out the cornerback and catch it for 6 to 8 yards in the first down. He is phenomenal in that kind of game, which helps them extend drives, gets them into easy second and third downs to have these long drives, which allows Philadelphia to score touchdowns or at least get field goals. One thing is, you cannot play man coverage against him. Now, anytime you play man against one of the best receivers in football, probably not the best thing to do. Against A.J. Brown, it is the worst possible thing you can do. He is the best receiver when it comes to yards and touchdowns against man coverage this year. He is just on another planet when you want to play man coverage. Thankfully, you get some pressure, you get some sacks. It takes him out of the game, but Hurts being able to extend plays. You got to play man coverage. You're going to be in for a long day against A.J. Brown. Thomas and Lenore and Mooney Ward, we know this. They know this. They have to come to play. Steve Wilks, it'll be interesting to see how much man coverage he plays. We've seen him play a little bit more man coverage recently with the pass rush playing better. I would expect a more zone coverage in this game because the threat A.J. Brown possesses on every single play against man coverage. Then you have Devontae Smith. One area where you think you can beat Devontae Smith, who is one of the best number 2 cornerbacks, or excuse me, one of the best number 2 receivers in the entire league, could be a one on half the teams in football. He isn't the physical dominating presence you would like a number 2 cornerback to be because you have A.J. Brown. Smith is slender. He isn't too fast, but I'll tell you this, one area you think you could do is at the line of scrimmage, jam in with the physical cornerback, right? Lenore or Thomas or Mooney Ward. You really can't do that against him. He's somehow able to work around his weakness and beat you. He'll also play slot for a handful of times. In the slot this year, 21 receptions, 268 yards, and 3 touchdowns. I think his most underrated aspect of his game is his situational awareness. You see a quarterback like Jalen Hurts want to escape the pocket, want to extend plays, want to, again, run to the sideline, set his feet and throw it. Who's usually there? It's Devontae Smith, who, again, he will find these soft pockets of the defense when Hurts does that. He'll sit in those little bubbles and those small zones. He'll just sit there and wait as the entire defense passes him by. Then Hurts finds him for 35 yards, 20 yards downfield on a massive third down conversion. Devontae Smith, he's not just going to beat you on a normal passing play. When the play breaks down, Devontae Smith is going to be there. He's like, I'll be there. That's what he is for Jalen Hurts. But let's talk about the most important part of the Philadelphia Eagles' entire team. That is their offensive line. I said it a handful of times already. Nick Bosa and company, those guys have to come to play because the Philadelphia Eagles offensive line, the games are won in the trenches, and it's so hard to beat this team up front. I've already talked about containing the edge, having to force Hurts and Swift, who love getting on the outside and running for space, whether it's on an RPO or it's a normal quarterback run when the play breaks down. It's important to contain those edges against this offense. But the lanes that Philadelphia's offensive line creates in the ground game is just absurd. And they're going to give Jalen Hurts plenty of time to throw. Again, the 5th slowest time to throw in the entire league because the offensive line is creating the best pockets in the entire league. They're 6th in pass block win rate, and they are 1st by wide margin in run block win rate at nearly 77%. The Philadelphia Eagles offensive line is how they win games. You talk about one of the most dominating groups in football. The Eagles offensive line by far is this team's MVP. I get they got Hurts, they got amazing skill position players. You take away the offensive line, you take away a lot of the success this team has. This team runs through the offensive line. It does help the fact that, though, like I've said plenty of times already, the Niners defense is playing at an all-time high this year, the past 4 games. Nick Bosa, the past 4 games, 31 pressures, 5 sacks, 10 quarterback hits, 3 tackles for losses. He's going to be against maybe Lane Johnson returning from injury or Mailata, their left tackle, who both those guys are some of the best, if not the best, tackles in the entire football, minus Trent Williams. Nick Bosa, you got to get the job done. Eric Armstead. If Eric Armstead can't play, the past month, you are taking away 20 pressures, 4.5 sacks, 7 quarterback hits, and 3 tackles for losses against their opponents. If he can't play because of his foot, that's a massive loss for the San Francisco 49ers. Then you have Javon Hargrave, who, again, the past 4 games, 14 pressures, 3 sacks, 5 quarterback hits, and 2 tackles for losses. Those 3 players alone, 65 pressures the past 4 games. That's over what? 11 over like 12 a game. It feels like it's insane. 12 and a half sacks, 22 quarterback hits, and 8 tackles for losses. This is going to be a game where your defensive line is exhausted playing. Can they hold up? Because the Philadelphia Eagles offensive line, like the entire team does, but more so because of this unit, they embrace that dickhead mentality of like, look, we're all plumbers, we're all blue-collar boys, we got massive beards, we're all thick, and we're going to go sing Christmas carols after the game when we win. That's what they want to do. They want to bludgeon you for 50 plays a game. And they are so good at doing it. Can the Bosas, the Hargraves, the Armsteads, if he's healthy, the Kinlaw, who was bullied against the Eagles last year, can they hold up? Chase Young, is his impact going to be felt in this game? Is he going? If Lane Johnson can't play, and you're telling me it's Chase Young on the edge and Nick Bosa on the edge, that's one area where you say San Francisco should be able to contain the edge. Now, if it's Lane Johnson out there and these little frickers are out there false starting every single play like they always like to do, that's something that has to be changed. The refs have to look at that and say, you cannot false start every single play. Even on tush pushes, the left guard false starts every single play. If you slow it down, it's hard to see. I get it. But the Niners, it is so important. Stopping Jalen Hurts, A.J. Brown, Swift, whoever it is, you have to be able to at least stand up with or be on par with the Philadelphia Eagles offensive line. And let's get to the tush push here, because it is the driving force behind Philadelphia being third in the entire league on third down conversions and first in the entire league on fourth down conversions. I've seen Jalen Hurts just sit on top of the ball like, hey guys, how's it going? Getting carried 4 yards downfield for first downs. Should they outlaw it? That's not my choice. I don't love it. They do it better than anybody for a reason. Travis Kelce, the left guard, Jurgens, Dickerson, what they're able to do in taking the legs out of opposing defensive players, getting so low underneath them, it is just a masterpiece in offensive line play. You have to give them credit. They are amazing at what they do. But what it does is it puts that much more pressure on San Francisco to keep Philadelphia into those third and sixes, those third and eights, and those fourth and fours, and those fourth and fives. If you can do that, which is extremely tough to do, which when you say again, you set the edge, you have the best run defense in the entire league, and you have your defense playing at an all-time high right now in coverage, you should have more success than not against the Eagles offense. But if you don't keep them on those third and sixes and those fourth and fives and fourth and fours, they are going to tush push their way to a victory. And over every team in the league, what the Eagles want to do, what the fan base wants to see, is them tush push their way and do what they do best against this Niners defense to a win. I also think with the likely odds of tight end Dallas Goedert being out in this game, will that give San Francisco a chance, whether it's Oren Burks, Fred Warner, Dre Greenlaw? You don't really have to worry about the Eagles' backup tight end. Would that give them a chance to be able to leave a quarterback spy sitting there to follow Jalen Hurts around? I'd prefer that almost be Fred Warner because he's a lot smarter player than Dre Greenlaw. But if Fred Warner's in coverage, Dre Greenlaw needs to be this hyena. He needs to go out there and just attack Jalen Hurts. Play clean. I don't want to see a punching the ball out the entire time and getting penalties, but I want to see him attack Jalen Hurts. That's the only way. You almost have to be smartly aggressive, right? Because Philadelphia will just beat you every single play if they can. But if Dallas Goedert does play again, I don't think he will, you're getting almost like a mini Gronkowski, dare I say. Not as big, not as fast, but Dallas Goedert is almost like an extension of the Eagles' offensive line. The way he plays is like a dickhead. He just wants to pound you into the dirt. He has amazing hands. Him and Hurts is chemistry is top notch in the entire league. It's near Purdy and Kittle. Like if he plays, that offense is going to be riding the healthiest they've been in a month and a half. And again, if that happens, San Francisco is going to have their hands full. We've talked 45 minutes about the Eagles offense against this Niners defense and the trouble they could have, and how San Francisco can actually, dare I say, stop them. Now it's time to get into how Brock Purdy and Christian McCaffrey and the boys can dice through one of the worst defenses in football when it comes to stopping a passing attack. The Eagles, again, to give them credit, like the offensive line, still strong up front. Jordan Davis, one of the best run defenders in the entire league. Jalen Carter having one of the best rookie seasons this year for defensive linemen. Haason Reddick is still wreaking havoc on quarterbacks. We know that all too well. And this team, who loves to rush for, leads the NFL in pressures when they only rush for in their base defense. They are so good. But, because there's always a but, this defense has major, and when I say major holes, what I mean by this is, if I'm Kyle Shanahan and I saw what happened against the Bills and I see what they've done this year and what they're not good at, I am licking my lips like I'm waiting for a Thanksgiving turkey, because oh my goodness, should this offense be able to run wild pass just with the best of them in the entire league against this Eagles defense. When you talk about, sometimes football is a game of matchups, right? You just play a team that plays you tough. The Commanders always play the Eagles tough, despite them being not a great team, right? Seattle, even when they're not good, always seem to play the Niners tough. The Rams as well, right? It's a divisional game. Those are tough games to win. Sometimes teams have your number, or they have your number more than others, right? The Niners in this game should be able to have the Eagles' defense's number on the ground this year. And it gets me all getting goosebumps because, woo, Christian McCaffrey should have some fun. The Eagles are allowing 6 yards a carry on attempts outside of the tackles. That ranks 25th in football. They're allowing, get this, 6.3 yards a carry on attempts outside of the left tackle. Who plays left tackle for the San Francisco 49ers? Oh, just the best left tackle in the entire league, and future Hall of Famer Trent Williams. And add on to that, San Francisco has been the best offense on the ground this year when running behind their all-pro, future Hall of Fame left tackle. Not to mention, Aaron Banks is healthy for a second straight week. Spencer Burford might come back. If you don't love that, John Feliciano's still healthy. You're getting your boys back up front to be full strength again. And you get to run with the league's leading rusher, Christian McCaffrey, against, what Christian McCaffrey is able to do on outside runs. We've talked about it all year long. League's leading rusher. He almost single-handedly, after Brock Purdy got hurt and Josh Johnson was like, I don't know what to do. Do I still play football? How do I have a job still? Even in that scenario last year in the playoffs, Christian McCaffrey was leading this Niners offense against, dare I say, a better Eagles defense. This game was a one-score game last year because Christian McCaffrey by himself was able to be that important to find all the gashes, to jump over defenders, to get to the outside. When I say the Eagles have not played a running back like Christian McCaffrey all year long, I mean it. They have not seen a player like Christian McCaffrey all year long. But by 300 yards, the NFL's leading rusher. He will be the first running back in Shanahan's entire tenure in San Francisco to rush for over 1,000 yards in a season. That's crazy. Like, Christian McCaffrey is going to run wild. He's kind of like Swift. He's patient. He'll turn nothing into 4 or 5 yards. And here's the kicker. Even after you make contact with him, he will still get 4 or 5 yards. He isn't a one-trick pony of, oh, I'm getting 3 yards a pop before contact, I'm getting hit and going down. He is, I'll get you 3 yards prior to contact, then I'll get you 6 more afterwards. Philadelphia, a great tackling team, giving that credit. Reed Blankenship, one of the rare white safeties in football, making plays. Kevin Byard has not been great this year, but Slay and Bradbury know how to tackle. This is a game where I think we're going to see CMC just go crazy, because the Eagles have yet to be able to show they can stop outside zone. That's what Shanahan loves to do. And you get in behind Trent Williams, you're going to see some Eagles players. They're not going to run away from Trent Williams, but they're not going to get through him. And you're going to see CMC going 5, 6, 12 yards downfield at a consistent basis in this game, I believe. Getting to the Eagles' passing defense. Ooh, it stinks. Like a lot. Against man coverage this year, or while playing man coverage this year, which they primarily do, they're allowing a 75.3 QBR, ranks 29th in the league. Do some quick math. That's 4th worst in football. Brock Purdy, who the Eagles have never played against, dare I say, has an 85 QBR against man coverage. That's 3rd in football. He's thrown 16 touchdowns against man coverage. That's 1st or tied for 1st in football. Has a 66% completion rate. That is 2nd in football against man coverage this year. Getting the thing now? Getting the theme here? The Eagles' defense, passing defense, given up the 5th most passing yards in the NFL. They've given up the 4th most passing yards per game, and kind of like the Seattle Seahawks defense, who was worse at home, they've given up more yards at home than they have on the road this year. They've given up nearly 300 yards, 293 yards at home through the air at home. That ranks 1st, or I guess in this way, 32nd, the worst in football, with nearly 300 yards against one of the most vaunted defenses in the entire league. Woo! It ain't spooky season, folks. The Eagles' defense is good. They might be a little fraudulent. 10-1. I'm not saying it's a given we're going to win this game, but if there is areas to beat Philadelphia, it's going to be a little Brock Purdy action all night long. And CMC should already have a good game. If you can run the ball, it opens up so much for Brock Purdy to be able to do. And keep in mind, Philadelphia is giving up the 2nd most passing touchdowns in the entire league and giving up the most passing first downs in the entire league. It feels like you can really have every which way with the Eagles' passing defense this year. Buffalo, Kansas City, the Dolphins. Should be the same for Brock Purdy. Sam Howell is out here throwing. Who I like Sam Howell. He's a fine quarterback. He's fine. He's bottom tier guy, but he can get the job done on certain days. He's fine. He's throwing for like 400 yards, putting up 31 points against this Eagles defense. And Brock Purdy is like, he's a system quarterback. He's a scrub. What? Like, Brock Purdy should be able to have and continue his success. You have to play a clean game, mind you. But Philadelphia is a mid-tier takeaway team. They don't get a lot of takeaways. Like, Philadelphia's passing defense is not great. Now, get into the conversation of, well, they get a little pressure on you. You get a little, you got a tight end blocking Haason Reddick again. I don't think Shanahan's going to make that mistake again, but we'll see. He's a pretty stubborn guy. But I do think San Francisco's offensive line, the way they like to play, should be able to keep Brock Purdy clean. Yes, they, against the Bucs, give up some sacks against Philadelphia, against Seattle. He got sacked twice or once, I believe. There have been times this year they haven't played well, I don't think this is going to be one of those times you're like, oh my God, they're a liability. You might sit back and you're going to get beat a handful of times against one of the better defensive lines in football, dare I say. But this should be a game where Brock Purdy does have time to throw. And even if he doesn't have time to throw, even if we're sitting there like, oh man, like Philadelphia is getting to our quarterback, this is horrifying to look at. It's not like Philadelphia has been good at defending short and intermediate passes. This year alone, Philadelphia ranks 31st, second worst in football in EPA per play, expected points against per play. They rank 29th, fourth worst in football in success rate against short passes over the middle of the field. They rank 30th in the entire league. Do some quick math again. Third worst in the entire league at allowing explosive plays and 23rd in yak allowed on short, intermediate passes over the middle of the field. What's Shanahan's bread and butter? Oh, so outside zone, check. Niners can do that. Philadelphia isn't good against that. Short, intermediate plays over the middle, where a team isn't great at tackling. Oh, that's what Shanahan likes to do. And then you mix in the fact that the Eagles, again, like I already said, they are not good against explosive plays. San Francisco this year, on plays 15 yards, that being passes or more, and 10-plus runs, San Francisco ranks second in the entire league. Philadelphia ranks 30th in guarding those plays. So not good against outside zone, not good against the middle of the field via the passing game, and allows the third worst explosive rate in football. Deebo Samuel, Brandon Ayuk, George Kittle. Wow. It's almost like Philadelphia, the name brings much more of a presence than the actual product. They're a good team. They're 10-1. When you watch them play, when you know the stats, every game you say, they're beatable. They're beatable. They pull these games out, gotta give them credit. What San Francisco likes to do, their bread and butter, lines up with what Philadelphia has shown not to be able to do. And you add in the fact that their starting linebacker, Zach Cunningham, who might not play, mind you, has given up a 96.5 passer rating. And their starting safety, who we all said, they're getting Kevin Byard, Howie Roseman, one of the best GMs in the entire league. He is, mind you. But Kevin Byard has sucked for the Eagles, 103.3 passer rating allowed. Then I say, well, who usually guards tight ends or linebackers and safeties? Then you realize the Eagles rank dead last in football in pass defense efficiency when covering tight ends. Who plays tight end for the Niners? Oh, one of the best players in the entire league at the position. This ain't the Chiefs, where they have no receivers to catch balls deep and they lose because the Eagles are double teaming Kelce. This ain't the Bills, where it's Stephon Diggs, rather incompetent Gabe Davis, and really nobody else for that offense. Philadelphia has not played an offense that has this many stars, this many capable top echelon players at their positions. Deebo Samuel is going to have a field day over the middle. George Kittle is going to eat Zach Cunningham if he plays, and Kevin Byard alive. They cannot stop tight ends. They can't stop outside zone run. They can't stop over the middle short passes. They're not great at yak in those scenarios. Again, the stats just say San Francisco, there's a reason why they're favored by 3 points in this game. And we haven't even gotten to Darius Slay, who's a great defender. He's like 33 years old. He's crushing it. Then you take a look towards the left and you go, oh, it's James Trash Bradbury, who's having a good year. He's a smart player. Then you sit back and you go, man, why did Deebo Samuel say he was the one to be exposed last year? Oh, I get it. 95.1 pass rating allowed. Now, that's not great. And he has one interception. That was last week, but he's given up 6 touchdowns as the nearest defender. Brandon Ayuk and Deebo Samuel are going to cook. They're going to get the skillet out, turn the fire on, put the oil in it, and just have a freaking field day with this pass defense. I'm not trying to be a homer. I'm not trying to sit back and say we're a better team, although we are, in my opinion. But I'm just trying to say the Philadelphia Eagles are not as scary as the NFL wants you to believe they are. They're a good team, 10-1 for a reason. They're a good team. They grind out wins. That's what makes a good team. They get off the field on third downs. They extend drives via third down conversions. They do the little things right when they're not playing teams like the Niners. This ain't the Commanders. This ain't the Bills, the Chiefs, the Dolphins. This ain't that. This is a Niners team who invites pain and suffering, who invites the contact, who wants to run right through you on their way to the end zone. This is no finesse team like the Dolphins that have speed and they'll kill you with speed. San Francisco has speed. They'll beat you by smashing your face into the ground. Kittle wants to run through Bayard and Blankenship and Slay and Cunningham. George Kittle wants to block Haason Reddick. He wants to block Jalen or Davis and Carter. He wants to do those things. Kyle Juszczyk, he'll probably have a big play in this game. Like, this is a team with San Francisco that wants to run through their opponents. Philadelphia, 5 quarters last week, overtime win. San Francisco, 10 days off. They have had the time to get their mind right. They've had the time to hopefully get healthier. Praying to God Eric Armstead can play in this one because we're going to need him. It's going to be a slugfest, a slobber knocker, an all-out duel to the death. Philadelphia does not want to lose this game. If they do, they're one game away from being either number 2 in the entire NFC or number 2 in the NFC East division. And if they lose against the Cowboys in 2 weeks, after they lose to us, Dallas holds the tiebreaker over them. This is a massive game for Philadelphia. San Francisco is going to want to come to play. They're going to come to play. They're already up for this game. The Eagles are already up for this game. Put the Niner jersey on Rocky Balboa afterwards, though, please. Can I just be honest here? I want to crush the Eagles. I want to pound their faces into the dirt. I want to ruin their holiday season. What happened last year sucked. It just sucked. It was unfair. It happened. That's life, whatever. We've moved on, literally. But in the back of our minds, we know. The team knows. Had Brock Purdy been healthy, maybe we're having a different conversation. You can say this game doesn't mean that, or it's week 13. It's not a playoff game. And we might as well meet again, right? It could very well happen. If it does, cool. We'll do it again. Go out there and beat Philadelphia. We have city buses in Pittsburgh and Concord and Walnut Creek saying, "Go Niners." The Bay Area is ready for war in this game. They're ready for a battle. Let's take them to it at the link. We already have over the record it was last year in the playoff with Niners fan attendance at the link. Last year already blew through that record. It's like at 15, 20%. The faithful have been waiting for this game since last January. They are ready. It's been a 10-month wait. We are ready to fight. We're ready to go out there and prove what happened was a fluke. I believe San Francisco is going to win this game 31-23, knock off the Philadelphia Eagles at home. Ayuk is going to cook the living, you know what. He's going to burn that Thanksgiving turkey, burn that Christmas Day ham. He's going to make the Eagles defense look like figgy pudding out there on the field with how amazing his route running is. Deebo Samuel, He's going to toss James Bradbury to the ground. And I want to say, ooh, we're dancing. It's Christmas time. We're dancing. Ooh, and we're having a great time in the Bay saying, I told you so. We're going to leave the link, leaving the Eagles' heads down low and their wings clipped, saying, fly, Eagles, fly. No, it's die, Eagles, die. Woo! Cannot wait for this game on Sunday. If you would like to, and I really appreciate it if you did, leave a like on the video. If you're listening on the audio versions, Apple Podcasts or Spotify, leave a like and review the podcast. Give us 5 stars. Say whatever you want in the comments below. If you're on Spotify and you have your Spotify Wrapped, you can tag us on social media with your podcasting platform on there. If we're in your top 5, we greatly appreciate it. We had a record-breaking year for the podcast this season with the off-season program and the year in full effect. I am so appreciative of what you guys have done for me with the views and the listens, the new subscribers, the new audience members we have. Merry Christmas. Happy Thanksgiving. Hope you have a wonderful December, and I hope you have a wonderful time watching your San Francisco 49ers take it to the Philadelphia Eagles on Sunday at 1:25 Pacific time on Fox. But again, Spotify Wrapped, or if you just want to give us a shout out, follow us on social media, tag us in those posts. 49ers_access is the Twitter or X. 49ers.access is the Instagram. If you somehow still want to go to this game or go to the next week's game as well, whatever you want to do, use our promo code 49ersaccess, 49ERSACCESS at SeatGeek.com and save yourself $20 off your first purchase. Have a great Sunday. Enjoy week number 13. Dare I say, go Dallas Cowboys tonight. Hope Eric Armstead gets healthy and enjoy what I would like to think is going to be a San Francisco 49ers win over the Philadelphia Eagles on Sunday as we inch ever closer to the number 1 seed in the NFC. Enjoy your day. Enjoy your week. Enjoy Sunday's game. My name is Sterling Bennett saying leave a like, leave a review. Don't forget to subscribe to the show. And until next time, stay faithful.